The FSS Pioneer glided through the vast darkness of space, its hull gleaming under the distant stars. Inside, the crew went about their daily tasks, preparing for another jump to the next system. In the medical bay, Dr. Maria Rodriguez ran final checks on the ship's emergency medical supplies while her 7-year-old daughter Emma colored at a small desk nearby. "Mommy, when will we find that pretty planet you told me about?" Emma asked, her crayon moving in wide circles to create a purple sky. "Soon, sweetheart," Maria replied, glancing at her datapad. "Captain Mitchell says we'll reach the trading station tomorrow. Then we'll head to the new colony site." The Pioneer wasn't a warship. It carried 75 crew members, including scientists, doctors, engineers, and their families. They were explorers, not fighters. Their mission was to find new worlds where humans could live and grow. As they approached the trading station, excitement filled the ship. The crew hadn't seen other species in months. Captain John Mitchell, a veteran explorer with 20 years of experience, stood on the bridge giving orders. His second-in-command, Lisa Martinez, checked the docking procedures one final time. "Prepare for docking maneuvers," Mitchell announced over the ship's intercom. "We'll resupply here for 3 days before continuing our mission." The trading station was a massive structure floating in space. It looked like a giant wheel, slowly spinning, to create artificial gravity. Ships from dozens of different species were docked around its edges. Some were sleek and silver, others bulky and covered in strange symbols. Emma pressed her face against the observation window as the Pioneer approached the station. "Look, Mommy, that ship has so many lights." "Yes, baby. That's a Volani ship. They come from a planet where it's always night." The docking process went smoothly. Within an hour, the Pioneer was secured to the station, and crew members began heading out to buy supplies and enjoy some time off the ship. Dr. Rodriguez had to stay behind to organize their medical inventory, but let Emma play in the recreation area nearby. "Stay in the rec room, okay? I'll be done in 30 minutes, Maria said, kissing Emma's forehead. "Okay, Mommy. I'll draw you another picture." But Emma was a curious child. After drawing 3 pictures, she heard strange voices coming from the corridor. They sounded funny, nothing like the voices she was used to hearing. Her stuffed bear tucked under one arm, she followed the sounds. The voices led her to the docking bay. There she saw her first alien. It was huge, standing on 6 legs with a body covered in shiny blue-green plates. Its head had multiple eyes that moved independently, and its mouth had sharp pincer-like parts. This was a Krelash trader inspecting crates of glowing crystals. Emma's eyes grew wide. "Wow," she whispered. The Krelash noticed her. Its multiple eyes focused on the small human child. Emma waved her free hand. "Hi, I'm Emma." The Krelash chittered, something in its own language. Emma took a step closer, fascinated by the strange being. "What are those shiny things?" she asked, pointing at the crystals. They glowed with a soft blue light that reminded her of her nightlight back home. The trader's translator device crackled to life. "Power crystals. Very valuable. Very expensive." "They're pretty," Emma said, reaching out to touch one. The Krelash pulled the crate away quickly. "No touch. Primitive mammal has dirty hands." Emma was confused by the harsh tone. "I just wanted to see. My hands are clean. Mommy makes me wash them." "Go away, little pest. This no place for offspring of simple species." Emma felt hurt. No one had ever called her names before. "I'm not a pest, I'm Emma." The Krelash turned its back on her, dismissing the child entirely. But Emma, being 7 and not used to being ignored, stepped forward again. "Please, can I just look at the pretty crystals? I won't touch them." The Krelash spun around suddenly, its pincers clicked together angrily. Without warning, it raised one of its forelegs and struck Emma across the chest, sending her flying backward. Emma hit the metal floor hard. Her head cracked against the deck plating, and she let out a scream of pain and surprise. Her teddy bear planted several feet away. "Emma!" a voice shouted. Security Chief Alex Turner had just entered the docking bay for a routine patrol. He saw everything. The small human child on the floor, crying. The Krelash trader standing over her with its forelimb. still raised. Alex rushed to Emma, scooping her up. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead, and she was sobbing uncontrollably. "Call medical, now!" Within seconds, Dr. Rodriguez burst into the docking bay. When she saw her daughter bloody and crying in the security chief's arms, a sound escaped, her that no one on the ship had ever heard before. It was primal, filled with rage and fear. "What happened?" she demanded, taking Emma from Alex. "Shiny crystals, you big bug. Hit me." Emma managed between sobs. Maria checked Emma's pupils with a small light. "Possible concussion. We need to get her to medical immediately." As they rushed toward the medical bay, Captain Mitchell arrived. At the docking bay, he looked at the Krillash trader, then at his security chief. "What happened here, Alex?" "The Krillash struck the child, sir. No provocation. She was just looking at its merchandise." Mitchell's face turned red with anger. He approached the Krillash, who seemed completely unconcerned about what had just occurred. "You attacked one of my crew," Mitchell said, his voice dangerously calm. The Krillash chittered something. Its translator said, "Young creature was annoying. I warned it. No damage done. Small creatures heal fast." "No damage?" Mitchell could barely contain his rage. "You just assaulted a child." "In Krillash culture, offspring must learn respect. Perhaps human parents should teach better manners." Mitchell had served 20 years without losing his temper. But watching a child get hurt broke something inside him. He took a step forward, his hands clenched into fists. "Sir," Alex said quietly, "we should handle this through proper channels." Mitchell took a deep breath. He was right. They were diplomats and explorers, not warriors. "I want this creature's ID. File a formal complaint with station security immediately." Within the hour, station security arrived. They were a mix of different species wearing identical uniforms. The lead officer was a Corvan, a tall gray being, with no visible eyes. "We understand there was an incident," the Corvan said. Captain Mitchell explained what happened. Emma was still in medical, where Dr. Rodriguez had discovered a hairline fracture in her skull. The 7-year-old needed surgery that the ship's facilities couldn't provide. The child violated trade customs by approaching merchandise without permission, the Krillash stated. "I have right to protect my goods, and she's a child," Mitchell shouted. 7 years old, she was curious. The station's security officer seemed to consider this. Under galactic trade law, traders do have right to protect merchandise. However, force against offspring is generally discouraged. Discouraged? Mitchell couldn't believe what he was hearing. "A child was assaulted on this station under your protection." "We will file a report," the Corvan said calmly. "The Krillash will pay station fine for disturbing peace. That is standard protocol." "That's not enough," Mitchell said. "This creature needs to face real consequences." "Captain Mitchell," the security officer said, "we understand your anger. However, this is a cultural misunderstanding. Humans are new to galactic interactions. You must learn our ways. Your ways include hurting children. The incident is regrettable but not uncommon between species with different customs. We suggest the human child learn proper station etiquette." Mitchell felt his world turning upside down. In human space, harming a child brought severe punishment. Here, it was just a fine and a lecture about customs. "This conversation isn't over," he said, turning away. That night, as Emma slept heavily under sedation, Dr. Rodriguez sat beside her daughter's bed. Her little girl's head was wrapped in bandages, her face pale and bruised. Maria's hands shook with emotion she couldn't name. It was more than anger, deeper than rage. She remembered a phrase her grandfather used to say, "Touch a human child, and you've awakened something that should stay sleeping." Captain Mitchell stood in his quarters, looking out at the lights of the trading station. He had already sent emergency messages to Earth Command and contacted the human embassy on the nearby planet. Emma needed advanced medical care that only Earth facilities could provide. But something else was stirring inside him, something that had been dormant during 20 years of peaceful exploration. The diplomatic channels were failing. The system that was supposed to protect them, to protect Emma, had brushed off her injury as a minor cultural incident. As he watched ships come and go from the trading station, John Mitchell made a decision that would change everything. If the galaxy couldn't protect human children, then humans would have to protect themselves. The next morning, Emma was transferred to a medical transport headed for Earth. Maria went with her, holding her daughter's small hand as they entered cryo-sleep for the long journey home. Captain Mitchell watched their ship disappear into the stars, his jaw clenched tight. That same day, he filed his official report. Every detail, every word the Krelash had said, every dismissive response from station security. He sent it through regular channels, but he also sent copies to people who would make sure the right people read it. And somewhere in space, a message traveled faster than light toward Earth. A message that would wake something that had been dormant in humanity for centuries. Something that would make the stars themselves tremble. Emma Rodriguez was just a 7-year-old girl who wanted to see pretty crystals. She had no idea that her scream would be heard across the galaxy. She couldn't know that her blood on the station floor would ignite fires that would burn across the stars. She was just a little girl who got hurt. But she was a human little girl, and that made all the difference. 5 days later, Emma opened her eyes in a hospital on Earth. The bright lights hurt and she squinted. Her mother's face appeared above her, wet with tears. "Hi, baby," Maria whispered. "You're home now." "Mommy?" "My head hurts," Emma said in a tiny voice. "I know, sweetie, the doctors fixed you up. You're going to be okay." But nothing was okay. Not really. The news spread fast. Earth had billions of people, connected through networks that moved information faster than light itself. First, it was a small story on the Outer Colonies network. Then it hit the main Earth feeds. "Human child assaulted at Galactic Trading Station," read the headlines. But it was the video that changed everything. Someone had found security footage. It showed a tiny girl approaching an alien as tall as a building. It showed her speaking. It showed the alien hitting her. Within hours, the video had been viewed 1 billion times. Comments poured in. Not just angry comments. Something darker than anger. Something cold and dangerous. Lisa Martinez, the HoloVid journalist who first shared the story widely, didn't expect the response. Her inbox filled with messages. Some were from scientists who worked with the aliens. Some were from politicians. Many were from ordinary people. All said the same thing. This isn't right. The human social network exploded. A new hashtag appeared. Touch our children. Pictures of Emma filled the feeds. Her bright smile, her love for drawing, her excitement about space. Then came pictures of the Krelash. People started digging into every trade deal, every diplomatic meeting, every interaction humans had with them. In Beijing, Parliament called an emergency session. The Prime Minister stood at the podium, her face grave. "We have all seen the footage. A human child was attacked. The galactic authorities called it a cultural misunderstanding." She paused. "The safety of our children is not a cultural issue. It is a universal right." The room erupted in applause. But behind closed doors, urgent meetings were happening. Admiral Susan Kelly, commander of the Earth Defense Force, sat in a secure room with Earth's top military leaders. "How many ships do we actually have?" asked General Marcus Peterson. "Publicly, 237 active vessels," Kelly replied. "That's what the galactic census lists." "And privately?" Kelly looked at the faces around the table. These were people she'd known for decades, people she trusted. Project Horizon has been operational for 12 years. We have 500 ships that nobody outside this room knows about. The silence was heavy. They were built for exploration and defense, she continued. Hidden shipyards and asteroid fields, powered by new fusion cores that make no signature aliens can detect. We told everyone they were mining stations. "Why hide them?" asked Peterson. "Because Earth doesn't trust easily anymore. Not after the first contact disasters. Not after seeing how other species treat each other." Kelly pulled up a holo display. "These aren't just regular ships, they're faster, more maneuverable, and packed with weapons no other species has seen." At the human embassy near the Galactic Center, Ambassador Robert Chen received an emergency call from Earth. His hands shook as he read the message. Then he straightened his tie and walked into the Galactic Council chambers. The council met on New Haven, a neutral planet designed for diplomacy. Representatives from 80 different species sat in a massive circular room. The Krillash had 3 members on the council, large blue-green creatures that clicked their pincers when annoyed. Ambassador Chen, the council chairman, said, "We understand your species is upset about the recent incident." "An incident?" Chen's voice remained calm, but something flickered in his eyes. "A child was assaulted and nearly killed. The Krillash trader has expressed regret for the cultural misunderstanding," said one of the Krillash counselors. "They have agreed to pay appropriate fines." "Cultural misunderstanding?" Chen repeated. "In human culture, harming a child is the worst crime possible. What would you consider appropriate punishment?" "The matter is closed, Ambassador. The trader paid standard station penalties. We hope humanity can learn to better integrate with galactic norms." Chen didn't raise his voice. He didn't show anger. He simply said, "I see, thank you for your time." But as he left, he sent a message with just 5 words. "Diplomatic solutions have failed us. Back on Earth, something was happening in the deepest military research labs. Scientists who had worked on peaceful technologies for years found their projects suddenly classified as top secret. Dr. William Hayes, a physicist who invented clean fusion energy, was moved to a hidden facility. "We need weapons," Admiral Kelly told him. "Not just weapons, we need force multipliers, things that will make up for our smaller fleet." "I'm a peaceful man," Hayes replied. "I've spent my career helping people." Kelly showed him the video of Emma being hit. "Sometimes peace requires the ability to fight. Will you help us protect our children?" Hayes watched the footage 3 times. Then he picked up his design tablets and started sketching. Within a week, he had theoretical plans for weapons that could crack open a moon. Public protests spread across Earth and its colonies. People gathered outside alien embassies. Signs read, "Justice for Emma," and "Protect our kids." The demonstrations were peaceful but firm. Humans didn't vandalize, they didn't riot. They stood silently holding pictures of their children. The alien ambassadors grew nervous. They had never seen humans angry before. In galactic politics, humans were seen as emotional but harmless. They explored, they traded, they asked questions, they didn't threaten. But something had changed. A line had been crossed. On New Mars, Commander Jack Peterson of Earth Navy Intelligence gathered reports from field agents. They had been watching alien communications for weeks. "What are they saying about us?" he asked. "They're confused," his analyst replied. The Vorlan ambassador sent a message saying humans seem unusually focused on offspring. The Drex coalition leader said we're overreacting to minor damage to one young creature. And the military chatter? "Nothing concerning. They think we might file more diplomatic protests, maybe impose some trade sanctions, but what? Sir, they have no idea what's coming." Peterson almost smiled. Almost. At a hidden shipyard in the Kuiper Belt, the first ship of Project Horizon prepared for its maiden voyage. The UES Retribution was twice the size of any known human warship, painted matte black to absorb sensor pings. Its crew hand-picked from the best Earth had to offer. Captain Rachel Adams stood on the bridge for the first time. Each console was marked with the latest human technology, stealth systems, new weapons, shields that could bend gravity itself. "Status report," she ordered. "All systems green, Captain," her first officer replied. "We're ready to go." "Good. Take us out. Silent running." The ship glided out of the hidden dock, invisible to any watching eyes. It was the first of many. Back in her hospital room, Emma was drawing again. Her head still hurt sometimes, but the doctors said she would fully recover. She drew a picture of space, but this time she added something new: protective shields around the human ships. "Look, Mommy," she said, holding up the picture. "I made force fields so no one can hurt the ships." Maria Rodriguez felt her heart break and heal at the same time. Her daughter was thinking about protection now, not just wonder and discovery. "That's beautiful, baby." But in the back of Maria's mind, other thoughts stirred. She had heard whispers. In the hospital corridors, nurses talking about their brothers and sisters joining the fleet, doctors mentioning their children signing up for defense courses. Something was happening to her people. The day Emma was scheduled to leave the hospital, a video message arrived. It was Captain Mitchell, still aboard the Pioneer. "Dr. Rodriguez, Maria," he said, his face filling the screen. "I wanted you to know that we're heading home. The Pioneer's mission is officially suspended, but I also wanted to tell you, something is coming, something that will ensure no human child is ever hurt like this again." The video ended. Maria held Emma close. Outside her window, she could see the trails of ships leaving Earth's atmosphere. More ships than usual. Many carried civilian identification, but she noticed how they flew in military formations. Across the galaxy, alien species went about their business as usual. They traded. They explored. They argued over territory and resources. Some noted that human ships had stopped visiting certain trade routes. Others observed that human diplomatic missions were being recalled home. The Krilash Empire, masters of trade and commerce, barely noticed. Their economists focused on profit margins. Their politicians debated taxation policies. The incident with the young human seemed like a distant memory. They had no idea that a storm was gathering. A storm born from the love of parents for their children. A storm that would reshape the political map of the galaxy. In human space, preparations continued in secret. Shipyards worked overtime. Training facilities operated around the clock. Scientists pushed the boundaries of physics itself, and at the center of it all was a simple truth. They had hurt a human girl. Now, the galaxy would learn what that meant. The countdown had begun. The meeting room was deep underground, so deep that even the most advanced sensors couldn't detect what happened inside. Admiral Susan Kelly looked at the faces around the table. Every person here had lost someone in the early days of space exploration. They understood why they were here. "The Galactic Council has refused to take action," Kelly said flatly. Their final response arrived this morning. They consider the matter closed. "What about Ambassador Chen?" asked Commander Peterson. "He delivered our ultimatum yesterday. The Council has 24 hours to arrest the Krilash traitor and put him on trial. If they don't..." Kelly left the sentence hanging. 24 hours, Peterson repeated. "And then what?" "Then humanity shows the galaxy who we really are." The next day, Ambassador Chen stood again before the Galactic Council. His hands were steady. His voice was clear. Every eye was on him as he spoke. "The leadership of Earth asked me to give you a final chance. Hand over the Krilash, who harmed our child, for trial. Agree to zero tolerance for crimes against any species' children. Work with us to create real protections." The Krilash representative clicked its pincers dismissively. "We have told you. The matter is settled. Your species must learn to accept galactic law." "Then let me tell you something about human law," Chen said. "When someone hurts our children, there are consequences. We gave you a chance to deliver justice peacefully. Are you threatening us, Ambassador?" the council chairman asked. "No," Chen replied quietly. "I'm warning you." He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the representatives murmured among themselves. The Krilash laughed. They had never been threatened by a species as young as humanity. That night, Admiral Kelly's fleet received the green light. Project Horizon was no longer a secret. Captain Lisa Martinez had just finished her evening news broadcast when she received a message marked, "Urgent, Eyes Only." She opened it in her secure office. Her hands shook as she read. 10 minutes later, she went live with breaking news. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've just received confirmation. The Galactic Council has refused Earth's demands. Our government has activated Defense Protocol Omega. I repeat, Defense Protocol Omega is now active. Across human space, people stopped what they were doing. They knew what that meant. Every human 7 years old and older remembered the safety drills in school. Protocol Omega meant humans were going to war. But war machines take time to mobilize, or so everyone thought. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, the secret shipyards came to life. Hidden doors opened in what looked like mining facilities. One by one, ships emerged. Not the exploration vessels everyone knew about. These were different. The UES Retribution led the way. Behind it came the UES Vengeance, the UES Wrath, the UES Justice. Each ship was larger than anything humans had publicly built. Each carried weapons that shouldn't have been possible with known human technology. All ships report ready status, reported the comm officer on the Retribution. Plot. Course for the Creighton system, Captain Rachel Adams ordered. The Krilish have trade stations there. Aye, Captain. Engaging stealth drive. The human fleet vanished from all sensors. They moved through space like ghosts, leaving no signature that alien technology could detect. On Earth, Emma was playing in her backyard. The media had respected her family's wish for privacy during her recovery. But that morning, something strange happened. A hover car landed near their house. Two people stepped out, an elderly man and a young woman. "Dr. Rodriguez?" the woman called. "I'm sorry to intrude. My name is Karen Foster. This is my father, Edward." Maria came to the door, concerned. "Can I help you?" Emma's video inspired us, Karen said. "My father is a retired general. I'm an aerospace engineer. We wanted you to know. What happens next is for her." Edward Foster stepped forward. "Ma'am, I served for 40 years. I've seen war. I've seen peace. What they did to your little girl, it awakened something in humanity that I thought was just legends." Emma appeared at the door, holding her stuffed bear. "Hi," she said cheerfully. The old general's eyes filled with tears. He got down on one knee, slowly. "Hello, young lady. I'm Edward. Do you want to see my drawings? I draw spaceships now." As Emma ran to get her drawings, Karen turned to Maria. "The fleet launched this morning. Not the fleet everyone knows about, the real fleet. The days passed quickly after that. Human ships disappeared from normal space lanes. Mining operations halted. Scientific missions returned home. It looked like humanity was retreating from galactic affairs. The aliens misunderstood completely. Finally, they accept their place," said a Drex commander. "Hiding on their world like children themselves." The Krilish Intelligence Division reported similar findings. Human military capabilities are limited to defensive actions around their home system. We have nothing to fear. But some aliens had worked closely with humans. They knew better. Dr. Zath, a Villani scientist who had collaborated with human researchers, contacted his old friend Dr. Hayes through secure channels. "William," Zath's message read, "what is happening? Human ships are leaving our joint projects. The relay stations are going silent. My government thinks you're abandoning space exploration." Hayes replied with a simple sentence. "We're not abandoning anything. We're preparing." Preparing for what? To change the rules. 5 days after the ultimatum expired, the Krilish trader who had hurt Emma returned to work. The incident had been forgotten by everyone except the humans. He moved his crates of energy crystals, traded with various species, and made good profit. That morning started like any other at the Kraton 3 trading station. Hundreds of ships docked. Thousands of beings moved through the corridors. The station's security force, mostly Drex warriors, patrolled without concern. Then every sensor on the station went dark. "Malfunction?" asked the station controller. "No, sir," replied the technician. "Something's blocking our sensors. I've never seen anything like it." 20 human ships appeared as if from nowhere. They dropped their stealth systems simultaneously. The station's defenses hadn't even detected their approach until they were already there. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves," the station commander broadcast. "This is Captain Rachel Adams of the Earth Defense Force. We're here for the Krilish trader who assaulted a human child on Trading Station Omega-7. You have no authority here. This is Krilish space. We have the authority given to us by a simple principle. Protect our children. Stand down and hand over the traitor. You dare threaten the Krilish Empire? We dare defend our young. You have 1 minute." The Krilish had never been challenged in their own space. Their pride wouldn't allow them to submit to demands from what they saw as primitive mammals. The station's defense guns swiveled toward the human ships. "Hostile targeting detected," reported the Retribution's tactical officer. "Return fire, disable only. We're here for one being, not to start a massacre." What happened next shocked everyone watching. Human weapons worked differently than anything known to galactic science. Precision strike beams didn't just destroy, they carved, they cut, they disabled with surgical accuracy. Within minutes, the station's defenses were neutralized, not destroyed, disabled. Every gun taken offline, every shield generator shut down. But the station itself remained intact, its inhabitants unharmed. "Target located," reported the tactical officer. "The Krilash trader is in docking bay 7 with his shipment. Transport team ready," said Adams. "Board and retrieve. Non-lethal force authorized." 20 human soldiers beamed onto the station. They moved with purpose, their armor gleaming black and red. Aliens scattered before them. These weren't the friendly explorers everyone knew. These were warriors. They found the Krilash trader quickly. He clicked his pincers in defiance. "You cannot do this. I have rights under galactic law." "You gave up those rights when you hurt a child," the team leader said. "You're coming with us." The capture took less than 10 minutes. As they transported back to the Retribution, the team leader sent a message to Captain Adams. "Package secured. Broadcast system-wide," Adams ordered. Her voice reached every ship, every station, every monitoring post in the sector. "This is Captain Rachel Adams. The individual responsible for assaulting Emma Rodriguez is now in custody. He will face justice. This is your first and last warning. Any being who harms a human child will be found, will be captured, will face consequences." The transmission ended. The human fleet began to withdraw as silently as it had arrived. But the message had been received across the galaxy. Reports flooded into the Galactic Council. A human military fleet had appeared from nowhere. They had technology that made their best sensors blind. They had weapons that no one had seen before, and they had operated inside Krilash space without asking permission. "This is an act of war," the Krilash representative screamed at the emergency council session. "They took one traitor," pointed out the Villani delegate. "They didn't destroy the station, they didn't kill anyone. They violated our sovereignty." "You violated a child's safety," said Ambassador Chen, who had been observing quietly. "What did you think would happen?" The Krilash Empire declared war on Earth 3 hours later. Their battle fleet consisted of 500 ships, the largest single military force ever assembled by one species. Earth's response came quickly. Admiral Kelly stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Resolution. Around her, more ships gathered than anyone had expected. Not 500, not 700, over 1,000 human warships assembled in formation. "Sir," her first officer said, "we're receiving movement alerts from the Krilash fleet. They're mobilizing." "Good," Kelly replied. "It's time they learned a lesson about underestimating humans." She looked at the star map. 20 years of exploration, 20 years of being seen as harmless, 20 years of being polite, diplomatic, careful not to offend anyone. All that had ended the moment a Krilash struck a human child. "All ships, prepare for jump," she ordered. "We're going to show them what happens when you hurt our children." The fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, heading toward their destiny. Behind them, on Earth, parents told their children that everything would be all right. Teachers started classes as usual. Life went on. But everyone knew things had changed forever. They had crossed a line. Now they would face the consequences. The Krilash war fleet gathered at the edge of their home system. 500 ships, each the size of a small city. Their hulls were covered in plates that looked like the shells of giant bugs. Every ship carried enough weapons to destroy a moon. "Today, we punish the mammals for their insolence," declared War Commander Vrath. His multiple eyes scanned the tactical displays. "They dare attack us over one worthless grub. We will break them." The fleet commanders clicked their approval. They had fought many wars. They had never lost, but they had never fought humans before. Admiral Kelly's fleet waited at the border of human space. Unlike the Krilash, humans weren't clustered together. Their ships spread out in a sphere formation, creating a net that was hard to break. Enemy fleet detected, reported the sensor officer. They're coming in standard formation, straight line approach. Perfect, Kelly said. They expect us to fight like every other species. She opened fleet-wide communication. All ships, implement swarm doctrine. Remember your training. Target. Their command ship first? Asked her tactical officer. No, let them keep their command structure. It'll be more demoralizing when they realize we're winning with them fully organized. The two fleets met near a binary star system. The Krelash charged forward with the confidence born from centuries of victories. Their plasma cannons charged up. Their missile tubes prepared to fire. They never knew what hit them. Human ships didn't fight in lines. They moved like a school of fish. When Krelash weapons locked onto one target, it vanished into stealth. By the time the sensors compensated, 3 other human ships had already struck from different angles. The precision weapons humans used weren't designed for massive destruction. They were designed for efficiency. One shot disabled engines. Another crippled weapons. A third cut through shield generators. Each Krelash ship that fell didn't explode dramatically. It just stopped working. Within the first hour, the Krelash had lost 30 ships. Disabled, drifting, crews intact but powerless. The humans had lost none. What sorcery is this? War Commander Vrath demanded. Our weapons pass right through them. They're bending space itself, his science officer reported. Their stealth technology doesn't just hide. It makes their ships partially phase out of normal space. Then we fire everywhere. Sir, they're coordinating their attacks. They know where we'll shoot before we shoot there. The battle was unlike anything seen before. Humans didn't try to destroy the Krelash fleet. They dismantled it piece by piece, ship by ship, gun by gun. Krelash warriors sat helpless as their mighty vessels became floating debris. Back on Earth, people gathered in squares and cafes to watch the broadcast. No one cheered, no one celebrated. They watched in silence as their species demonstrated a power that frightened even themselves. Emma Rodriguez watched too, from her family's living room. The girl who had been hurt now saw ships fighting in her name. She didn't understand war, but she understood that something had changed. "Mommy, are we the scary ones now?" she asked. Maria Rodriguez hugged her daughter. "We're the protective ones, baby. There's a difference." The battle ended after 6 hours. Not a single human ship was destroyed. 472 Krelash ships sat disabled in space. 28 had tried to run. 28 had been caught. "Krelash Empire," Admiral Kelly broadcast. "Your fleet is defeated. You started this war over your pride. We're ending it because of our children. The Krelash traitor is now on his way to a neutral court. He will face justice. Stand down, and this ends here." War Commander Vrath, floating in his powerless ship, clicked furiously. "The Empire will never surrender to mammals. Then watch what happens when mammals get serious." Human ships didn't occupy Krelash worlds. They didn't invade. But they cut every trade route, every shipping lane, every communication relay. The Krelash Empire, built on commerce and trade, found itself completely isolated. Other species watched in shock. The friendly humans they knew were gone. In their place were warriors who fought with cold precision. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Alien parents started to pay attention to what started everything. They researched Earth news. They found videos of human children playing, learning, growing. They saw pictures of Emma Rodriguez before her attack. A movement began. Not among politicians or generals, but among parents across different species. They called it the awakening. "We've been dismissing their protectiveness as primitive emotion," wrote a Villani mother in her blog. "But maybe we're the primitive ones. Do we care enough about our young?" The Galactic Council held emergency sessions. War had broken out in their carefully balanced system. Not a war of conquest, but something worse, a war of principle. "The humans demand a new law," Ambassador Chen reported. "Zero tolerance for violence against children of any species. Severe penalties for violations. Active cooperation between All species to protect the young. This is outrageous, shouted several representatives. They can't dictate terms to the galaxy. They're not dictating, Chen replied calmly. They're demonstrating. Look at the Krilash. Look at what happened when they ignored the safety of one child. More battles followed. Human ships appeared wherever. Children were threatened. When slave traders on Nexus Station used young ones for labor, human commandos arrived. The traders were captured. The children were freed. When a Corvin mining operation employed child workers in dangerous conditions, human inspectors demanded entry. They were refused. The next day, every Corvin mining facility in the sector lost power. Their executives received a message: protect your young or lose your industry. One by one, species began to change their policies, not because they feared human weapons, but because they feared what those weapons represented. Humans didn't fight for territory. They didn't fight for resources. They fought for children, and they won. The Krilash Empire finally surrendered after their economy collapsed. Without trade, their society crumbled. The trader who hurt Emma faced trial on a neutral station. Representatives from 50 species attended. For the first time in galactic history, someone was convicted of harming a child from another species. The sentence was lifetime imprisonment and rehabilitation. Emma Rodriguez, now 9 years old, wrote a letter that was broadcast across the galaxy. Her mother helped her with the big words. Dear aliens, I'm okay now. My head doesn't hurt anymore. I know there was a big fight because of me. I want you to know I don't hate aliens. I still love space. I still want to explore. But I'm glad the scary thing won't happen to other kids now. My mom says sometimes grown-ups need to protect children. That's what happened. Thank you for making it safer. Love, Emma. The letter changed something. The war had been about justice for one child, but Emma's words made it about every child, human and alien children alike. The Galactic Council passed the protection protocol 6 months later. Every species agreed. For the first time in galactic history, there was a universal law about protecting children. Admiral Kelly retired the fleet to its secret bases. They remained ready, hidden in plain sight. The message was clear. Humans were still the same explorers they had always been. But they were also guardians now. Other species still didn't fully understand human attachment to their young, but they understood the consequences of dismissing it. They had seen fleets disabled, economies destroyed, pride shattered. On Earth, life returned to normal. Mostly. Children still played. Families still dreamed of the stars. But now, when human ships traveled to alien worlds, they were escorted, protected. Space stations added playgrounds and family zones. Alien traders learned human customs about respecting children. Not out of fear entirely. Some had genuinely awakened to what they had been missing in their own societies. The galaxy changed because one Krilash struck one human child. Not because humans wanted to change it, but because they acted on a belief that transcended words. Children are precious. All children, everywhere, always, and those who hurt them face consequences. The war was over. The burns had healed. But the warning remained. 5 years had passed since the war ended. Emma Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Assembly, now 12 years old. Her speech would be remembered for generations, though she didn't know it yet. When I was 7, she began, I met an alien for the first time. I got hurt. I was scared. Her voice never wavered. I didn't want anyone to fight for me. But they did. The massive chamber was quiet. Representatives from every species listened to the child who had changed everything. My mom says that sometimes bad things lead to good changes. I didn't understand then. Now I do. Emma paused, looking at the faces, furry, scaled, feathered, all watching her. Now children like me can visit your worlds. We can make friends. We can learn together. Because everywhere I go now I feel safe. She sat down. The applause lasted for 10 minutes. The Galactic Assembly had changed too. A new position had been created, the Child Safety Advocate. The first one chosen was Ambassador Robert Chen, who had fought so hard for Emma's justice. His office became the place where any parent, from any species, could report threats to children. Captain Rachel Adams, the leader of humanity's first strike force, now commanded a new mission. Her ships patrolled trade routes not as warriors, but as protectors. She carried toys and medical supplies. Her crew included doctors and teachers from many species. "We've gone from war fleet to a rescue fleet," she told her crew. "We respond to any distress signal involving children. We help, we heal, we protect." The Kralish Empire had changed most of all. Their new leader, First Speaker Krath, was different from the old warriors. He had spent the 5 years rebuilding his society around a new principle: family first. "We lost our empire because we lost our perspective," he told his people. "We measured worth by trade and conquest. We forgot that our true treasure was in our nurturing pools where our young ones grew." Kralish young were no longer raised in communal hatcheries. Parents started taking them on trade missions, teaching them languages and cultures firsthand. The same species that had once dismissed children as grubs now displayed their young ones' art in their ship's corridors. Deep in space, at the coordinates, where the first battle happened, a monument appeared. It was called Turning Point Station. Shaped like a massive star, it served as a school where children from all species could learn together. In its center stood a statue, a human child reaching out to touch a crystal, forever captured in bronze. Dr. William Hayes, the scientist who had created humanity's weapons, changed his focus back to peaceful technology. But instead of just fusion, power, he worked on communication devices for children, translators that helped young ones from different species play together, learn together, make friends despite language barriers. On planets across the galaxy, playgrounds appeared with equipment designed for different body types. Parks where Corvin, children with their many limbs, could play alongside human children, where Villani young ones could practice their natural flight abilities safely. The effects ran deeper than anyone expected. Crime rates dropped galaxy-wide. Not just crimes against children, but all crime. Societies that began protecting their most vulnerable members found they valued everyone more. Earth itself had transformed. What started as military shipyards now produced exploration vessels and hospital ships. Young people who had prepared for war trained instead for emergency rescue missions. The secret fleet remained, but its purpose had evolved to respond to disasters and threats, not to conquer. Emma's younger brother James grew up in this new world. At 6 years old, he had pen pals on 12 different worlds. He learned greetings in 30 languages. His teddy bear wore a child protection badge that signaled distress in any emergency. The trading station where Emma was hurt had been rebuilt too. Now it was called Unity Station. A memorial garden grew there, with plants from hundreds of worlds. Children often brought new flowers to add to the collection. Maria Rodriguez had earned new fame as the doctor who changed minds as much as she healed bodies. She traveled between worlds, teaching advanced medicine. But she always made time for parents who sought her advice about raising children after trauma. Captain John Mitchell became an advocate for family space missions. His new ship, the FSS Discovery, specialized in long-term family exploration. Scientists brought their children. Engineers taught their kids about spacecraft design. The whole ship was a moving community. Lisa Martinez continued reporting the news, but her focus shifted to positive stories. Children across species unite in space art contest became typical headlines. She covered the first interspecies school, play, where Drek's children worked stage crew while human children performed Shakespeare. The war criminal who hurt Emma had served 3 years before requesting rehabilitation. Under the new laws, he could apply for release if he showed genuine change. At his hearing, he stood before the same chamber where Emma had spoken. "I am ashamed," he said through his translator. "I saw a child and thought only of my profit. I did not see the person, the curious mind, the potential friend." He looked up at the observers. "I spent 3 years studying every species' children, learning their games, reading their stories. I cannot undo my action, but I can spend my life making sure others never repeat it." The judges granted his release, with conditions. He would work at a children's center on New Haven, teaching about the importance of kindness to all young ones. A decade after the incident, the Galactic School Exchange program began. Emma Rodriguez was its first ambassador. As a teenager, she traveled to different worlds, spending months learning their cultures. She became fluent in 6 languages. She made friends everywhere she went. On Krilash Prime, Krath's granddaughter became Emma's closest friend. They worked together on the Young Writers Project, Stories from All Stars, collecting tales from children across the galaxy. The hidden fleet rarely needed to show itself anymore. But sometimes, somewhere, a distress signal would come. Pirates threatening a colony world, a natural disaster endangering refugee camps. In those moments, human ships would appear swiftly, help would be given freely, and they would vanish again just as quickly. The message remained clear without words. We protect, we serve, we remember. In schools across human space, children learned the story not as propaganda, but as a reminder. Teachers told them, one act of cruelty started it all, but millions of acts of kindness maintain the peace. 20 years later, Emma Rodriguez stood before graduating cadets at the Earth Space Academy. The audience included humans and many alien species, all there to hear the woman who had unknowingly changed the galaxy speak. When I was 7, I learned a hard lesson. The universe can be cruel, but I also learned that it can be kind. It depends on us. She looked at the young faces before her. Every time you meet someone's child, human, Krilash, Drex, Villani, remember that you're meeting someone's entire world. Treat them with the same care you'd want for your own family. The cadets stood and clapped. Among them were children of the very species that had once seemed so alien and frightening. Now they trained together, would explore together, would protect the galaxy together. In the back of the auditorium, Admiral Kelly watched quietly. She was old now, but she had lived to see the transformation complete. Her hidden fleet still existed, but most graduates now trained for peaceful missions. The statue of Emma and the alien remained the galaxy's most visited monument. Each year, billions of beings looked at that frozen moment. A child reaching for crystals, curiosity captured forever in bronze. When tourists asked station guides about the statue's meaning, they always received the same answer. It shows the moment the universe chose to be kinder. On quiet nights, when Emma looked up at the stars from Earth, she sometimes wondered what had really changed that day she met her first alien. Was it the galaxy that had changed? Or was it just that beings across the cosmos finally decided to see what was important? Either way, children slept safer now. They played more freely. They dreamed bigger dreams. And in a universe of trillions of stars, that was the greatest victory of all. The galaxy had learned a simple truth. Protect the children, and you protect the future itself.